Hey, real quick, just a reminder to subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. Also, we're doing a live show in Atlanta, December 2nd, the Friday night before the SEC championship game, solidverballive.com. Link down there for tickets.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrandt, that fine gentleman over there in snowy Chicago, Illinois, the tundra of the NFC Norris, Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
Did you say the NFC Norse?
The NFC Norris.
Oh, the NFC Norse?
Did you not watch Chris Berman when you were younger?
I did. That one flew over my head.
Wow.
I apologize.
I thought you were a sports fan.
I wanted to sell that badly, and I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. I'm good. It is snowy. It hasn't stuck to the ground. I had to go walk and get a car a considerable distance and put on my boots for the first time in many, many months, and it didn't feel great. But I am ready to dig in with extra traction into week 12. How about that?
Oh, freaking yeah. This episode, all of our episodes driven by our good friends over at Geico. As we've been telling you now for a couple weeks running, really a couple months running, we are doing a show in Atlanta, Georgia on December the 2nd. SolidVerbalLive.com is where you can go to get tickets for said show. We are inducting college football things into a Hall of Fame of our own creation.
Correct. They are things from the 2022 season, much in the way that Fantasy Things is a guessing predictor of things that have continued to happen or we predict will happen. We are going to celebrate and select all of the wondrous physical items, physical people, physical events that have happened over the course of 2022. And once again, no dress code for you. Ty and I will celebrate the occasion accordingly on stage.
And last but certainly not least, we're launching a new show. You may have heard about this little thing we like to call Extra Nuggets. It's our good friend Adam Amin. It launches on Tuesday, November the 22nd to commemorate, to celebrate this momentous occasion.
Yeah.
We have the biggest giveaway we've ever had at
Correct.
solidgiveaway.com. Giving away a PS5 console. Comes with a game. Also giving away a $100 gift card if you want to use that next summer to buy the NCAA video game when that comes out. Be our guest. We are going to give that away at the end of next week, and we're going to announce the winner on the November 29th episode of Extra Nuggets. So going out, solid giveaway, enter to win. We'll send you an email, let you know how you can tune into that episode and be notified if you win. That's it. It's legit. It actually just showed up. The PS5 console just showed up. You heard my dog barking while we were waiting to go live here. That was the UPS guy who showed up with the PS5. So it is quite literally in my dining room right now.
Solidgiveaway.com, and once again, Extra Nuggets is a celebration of all things everything that happens on Jeopardy. Adam and I each take 2 Jeopardy categories and deeper dive into, that's not English, and take a deeper dive into all 10 of the correct responses and learn just a little more about Mickey Mantle, Orion's Belt, the Salamander, hi-fi technology, whatever it is that comes onto Jeopardy. Sometimes you know the answer, sometimes you don't, but we do a little bit of research and learn things together. It's a really fun show. Tuesday, November 22nd is the first couple episodes coming out. Pretty excited.
Dropping 2. We're very excited about this. So
yes,
again, solidgiveaway.com. Enter to win. It's free. Just a couple quick and easy steps that you need to follow. On today's show, it's week 12. Can you believe it? We made it to week 12. We've got this week. We've got next week. Then the regular season is kaput. It's over. Then we go to Atlanta. There is a Pac-12 game that Friday night. There are 4 other big major Power 5 games the following day as well. In week 14, championship week. And then we start talking about who's going to the playoff, what bowl games are teams going to. Before long, we're going to have to spin up our bowl pool, which will be available to folks at verballers.com. Before long, we're going to start talking about all things playoff and what we're going to do to try and cover that gallant regal event.
Look at you. Yeah, we have the live show December 2nd. The next day is conference championship Saturday. And so we're rushing home to watch all of the games. And then Sunday, we'll record later on.
Yeah, later.
Because we'll have playoff announcements, some bigger bowl announcements, and of course, just talking about conference championship games in general. So that will be an extremely active weekend. And so get behind the scenes with that one, verballers.com, solidverballive.com.
Dan, did you take a look at this week of games?
I did. I absolutely did.
So I was thinking of it from 2 perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
The first was one I was looking at just the way that it sets up. I think the window of opportunity, I don't have to play the window of opportunity today. People hate that. People love it, they hate it, but I think the window of opportunity is anything but late. I think the late slate of games has a lot of potential to be very, very good. And so I think that combined with the fact that, look, we're a week out from rivalry week. There are going to be some big ins next week. If you're one of the top teams or if you're a team that just in general has something to play for, you don't want to fall asleep at the wheel. You don't want to fall asleep.
Correct.
You are getting very sleepy.
Ooh.
You don't want to fall asleep. It's a stay awake Saturday.
Stay awake Saturday. Guess what I'm not going to be doing, by the way, for Utah, Oregon? Staying awake, Ty. 9:30 p.m. Central, 10:30 kickoff between two ranked teams, between one of the teams being the highest rated in the conference. Not a stay awake Saturday for yours truly.
The other thing that I thought of,
okay,
and this is only because it was sent to me, but Mike from Virginia Beach, thank you, Mike, emailed in and said we should call it a 6-4 Saturday.
Oh.
Which 6-4 team can shake up the playoff picture and knock off an unbeaten team, or which 6-4 team can win and become ranked? And he listed out here Kentucky, Maryland, Baylor, South Carolina, SMU, Louisville, Syracuse, Wake, Texas, Kansas, Houston, ECU, Iowa, Pitt, a whole host of teams that are 6-4 trying to play for a little something more. So that's from Mike. We got two options. I suppose you're about to present the third.
Yeah, I was looking through and I was trying to find the connective tissue, and I looked at matchups like Bedlam, looking at Illinois, Michigan, Baylor, TCU, the Revivalry, Georgia, Kentucky, and I thought to myself, either before the season or even mid-season, those all were shaping up to be very tasty matchups. And then some of those teams lost, or some of those teams fell off a friggin' cliff. And so there were so many of these games that I had circled, again, either before the season, I was like, yes, that one right there, that is going to be a game that I'm going to build my whole Saturday around. And then Illinois lost the way that they did to Michigan State and Purdue. And then Kentucky lost the way that they did to Tennessee. And I'm checking my notes here. Vanderbilt? Just there are some certain teams that have gone long stretches without playing good teams all that often. I was like, boom, right here. Week 12 is kind of at this moment, and I don't want to take this into a negative space, but a little bit of a should have been Saturday.
Should have been you, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Once again, Ty.
Should have been you, but it wasn't.
It wasn't, no. So
Well,
I like your positive spin more than my
Thank
downer
you.
spin.
Finally, I win one of these damn contests. Let us know in the chat. We got people watching live, courtesy of Verballers.com. Let us know for you if it's a stay awake Saturday, if it's a should have been Saturday, or if it's a 6-4 Saturday. If you want to be, neutral and not pick Dan or I, let us know. We've got a bunch.
I
of
still
folks
think
watching.
I'm a superior drop hunter. That's me. But I think your nickname is better this week.
Should have been you, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It's a little eerie. That sounds a little eerie.
Yeah.
Let's get to our picks.
Dan, time, help. I need picks of the week.
All right. I'm cracking my knuckles. I am ready to roll here. Let's go early, high noon on the Fox network. We've got TCU 10-0, baby. Wow.
Yes.
Had somebody write in and say,
God,
but I'm
this is
feeling
very
TCU.
drop. Oh, I like that.
Can't believe I missed that one. TCU 10-0. They're favored by 3. They're on the road at Baylor. Baylor also 6-4, as we mentioned just a moment ago. The convenience of going spite lock 2 in a row for me is that I didn't have to show my work. It was great. I loved it.
That's true.
Loved every minute of it. I am not sure what to make of Baylor. I haven't been sure all year. I didn't like them when I did my preseason preview type stuff, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's late in the season.
And I still feel like I am leaning a little too heavily on the work I did in the preseason to try and figure out what the hell is going to happen in week 12. That's where I'm at with Baylor. Again, the over-under was 7.5 for good reason. It seems at this point they've got some work to do if they want to hit that over. On one hand, I was thinking about it a little bit, and it's like, all right, they did answer some of the questions we had in the preseason, right? How are they going to replace Abram Smith? That was something I was big on.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're okay there. Got some Reese's Pieces working for him in the backfield.
Squirrel, yeah.
But on the other, there are some other questions. That's still remain, mainly the secondary, right? I mean, the defense in general has sort of been underwhelming outside of that turnover spree that they went on over the last couple weeks. The only thing they're pretty good at on defense is stopping big plays, which could play a role given where TCU is at as an offense here. I did text with the Pope, the OG Pope, Peter Pope.
Mm-hmm.
If only to give him my new address, I found out he's been sending a Christmas card to the wrong house for the last 4 years.
It's okay.
So hopefully the family that got the card celebrated his beautiful family by putting them on his refrigerator, even though they don't know him. But
yeah,
the sense that I got from him and the one that I have gotten from just reading Baylor sites, beat writers, tweeters, whatnot, is that it's frustrating to watch Baylor because it feels like they're not playing up to their potential. That there's more meat on the bone. Again, this is a team with youth, so it's not uncommon to be in that place with a younger team where you feel like there's more there. We're just not tapping into it yet. So you see the flashes, you just can't count on them. And I think that's kind of where my trepidation is with the Bears, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm going to go TCU here.
Yeah, so TCU in a letdown spot, but it kind of also feels like the last month and a half has been a letdown spot, and TCU keeps winning. You know, they have an emotional overtime win. They have an emotional comeback win or 3, and they keep winning. They're America's best team against the spread. They are doubted, it seems, more than anybody in terms of what they can and can't do against teams as it relates to the final score by Vegas, more than anybody. I think TCU is a better team than Baylor. Baylor's going to be juiced for this one. It's in Waco. A rivalry game on the road for TCU as a favorite. A road rival. So if you were to like Baylor, obviously a really smart pick for a home dog of the week, a Yako's home dog of the week. I'm just not there.
Yeah.
I'm not there. My concern about TCU is not actually that it's a letdown spot, which it for sure is. After game days in town, they beat Texas, Gary Patterson on the other sideline, et cetera, et cetera. My concern with TCU, and maybe it's more of a big picture thing, is they don't pound anyone, Ty. I know you can relate to that. They don't pound anybody. They beat teams by 7. They beat teams by 10. And as a top 5 team, I want to see them beat West Virginia by 20. I want to see them beat, Oklahoma State by a couple touchdowns. And we don't see it. So that's what gives me pause with TCU. And maybe that's a big picture thing. I don't like that Baylor had last week in them. I don't like that Baylor has that kind of floor. I'm going TCU because I am just more confident in the seasoning and the been there, done that nature of this team this year. They're getting healthier. I just think you're going to see a healthy dose of Kendre Miller against this Baylor team and DeMarcado, and they're going to win this game by 10 to 13 points, not a pounding.
Yeah, I just think TCU is more of a finished product, and that's just where I'm at. I mean, you, we've been asking the same questions for the last month about TCU. Like, is this the week? No, this is going to be the week. It's never the week. It hasn't been the week in 11 weeks now for the Horned Frogs. So, that being said, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we talked about this game on Sunday and Baylor gave him a game.
Sure.
Baylor gave him a hell of a game because Dave Aranda, albeit last week was not a great showing against K-State, 31-3, okay. Water under the bridge. For the most part, Dave Aranda doesn't get outcoached. Dave Aranda's pretty good game day coach. He's gotten better as his tenure has grown in Waco. And so I think that alone is enough to keep games like this close in some instances, provided his team doesn't shoot itself in the foot, so on and so forth. I don't think it's a 10-point game. I could see it being like a 7-point game, a 4-point game, something like that. I would not bet on this game with actual currency. I've got it down as 31-28 TCU.
Okay, so you're taking the points.
Well, it's a 3-point spread, so I guess it's a
3.
push. Yeah.
I guess it's a push. Okay. Yeah. I think what you're describing is right. It is that DSB, that de facto Super Bowl, is it not? In a rivalry game at home with a chance to absolutely play spoiler and ruin a team's potential postseason spot. It most certainly is. But I'm still going with TCU here because I worry about Baylor's defense if they're not generating those turnovers.
All right. 12 p.m. on ABC. It is Illinois. It is Michigan. Michigan favored by 18 points now, Dan. This is another game. We've been talking about this game for a while as a potential landmine for Michigan. Important side note. That was before Illinois went on a 2-game losing streak. Before the losing streak, we were all in on that. this could be an interesting game.
Yeah.
So still some look-ahead potential for Michigan. Obviously, they've got Ohio State on deck next week. Clearly, weird things happen in November all the time. This wouldn't be the first, certainly not the last time that weird things happen in November. But I want to believe that Illinois has a shot here to keep this close.
Right.
I just question the Illini more than I expected. And it's not just because of the last 2 weeks where they've been bad on offense, but the big narrative with Illinois so far this season has been the defense.
Mm-hmm.
The SP Plus, which we trust, has them as a top 5 defense nationally. I just thought it'd be worth mentioning that last week was the first game all season they played against a top 30 offense, and they gave up 31 points. Like, we like the numbers that are opponent adjusted and all that, but on some level, there could be a culture shock here going up against a team like Michigan, clearly the best team they played all year. And I just have my doubts,
Sure.
Especially after the last 2 weeks, but not solely because of the last 2 weeks. It's just such a big jump up in competition.
Look ahead spot. Easier to look past Illinois after these past couple weeks. I still think they have a good defense. Chase Brown beat up on offense. I don't know if you saw that. And Michigan, and I don't know the exact mechanics of what's going on. I sent you that piece from Bruce Feldman on Biff Poggi. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
The way Bruce describes the Michigan associate head coach, a Baltimore high school coaching legend, the way Bruce describes it is that this guy Biff is Michigan's shadow head coach. And he's now taking the Charlotte head coaching job. And I'm not in that facility. But it seems like, if my theory is that he is the shadow head coach of Michigan football and he's no longer there, that is worrisome. Is it worrisome against Illinois? I don't happen to think so. But something to monitor moving forward. Okay. That Michigan might be without its shadow de facto head coach. I'm in on Michigan here.
Yeah.
I think Blake Corum eventually is just too much. I think J.J. McCarthy, despite some recent struggles and Michigan's recent offensive struggles situationally, I still think the big mismatch is when Michigan themselves, they're on defense. You mentioned the Illinois defense. I think the stronger of the two is Michigan's unit.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to force mistakes, going to force short fields and boneheaded plays. So I have Michigan winning this by 3 touchdowns and covering.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, how many points does Illinois need to score to cover 18 against Michigan? Do they need to score 14, 17 points? I'm not confident they can get over 10. In this one, I've got it at 31-10 Michigan because the Illinois offense is bad outside of whatever they get on the ground from Chase Brown, who, as you mentioned, is nursing a leg thing right now and quote unquote trending in the right direction. We'll see if he ends up playing or not, but just too many variables and too much to not like on the Illinois offense to think they can cover 18, especially with Michigan at home.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Illinois is probably going to need a busted play to get Isaiah Williams loose or something. They're going to need some sort of return, be it a pick six or a special teams return for a score, jump on them early and get Michigan a little bit shook. Then maybe if they can sit on a lead with the run game, they come through with a couple 3rd and short, 4th and short. That's the formula.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a lot of ifs here. So I'm going with the sure thing in Michigan.
A lot of qualifiers. All right. Some other games here in this early block, Dan. I'll list them off, then you can come back to the ones that are of note to you. We've got Duke at Pitt. Pitt favored by 7.5 points, which feels like a lot to me.
Yep.
We've got Florida -14 on the road at Vandy. We have Virginia Tech at 2-8 on the road at Liberty, which is 8-2. Liberty favored by 9.5 points. Wisconsin favored by 13 on the road at Nebraska. We've got Purdue at home, favored by 20 over Northwestern. Michigan State at home as well, favored by 10.5 over Indiana. We've got Florida State favored by 3+ scores over Louisiana. We've got Texas A&M -34 at home against UMass. UCF over Navy. Army over UConn. And then 2 other SEC ones here that, they're not against FBS opponents, therefore there's not a point spread, at least not at time of recording. Alabama going up against 7-3 Austin Peay, and Mississippi State at home against Eastern Tennessee, Dan. Any of those games speaking to you.
Yeah, like all of them. UMass beating Texas A&M. Let's start there.
I jotted it down. I
Okay.
said, what is the likelihood that UMass covers the spread?
I'm just talking about beating them outright.
Outright, okay.
The Minutemen. If UMass beats Texas A&M, the Texas A&M bus or whatever is happening, the game is in College Station, right?
Yes.
I think there will be, like, as Jimbo goes into the tunnel, there will be golf carts that pull up to him on either side as if it is a carjacking and, like, take his credential away, take his scanning pass or whatever gets him into the facility away in that moment. It won't happen. Texas A&M should absolutely limb from limb beat UMass. Otherwise, I love, to the point that it's my lock of the week, Nebraska losing to Wisconsin big. So Wisconsin is my lock.
Lock of the week.
Why do you like that one so much?
Teams playing against Nebraska this year are hitting on 70% of their games against the spread. So yes. Now, what happens after you beat Nebraska is a different story. Oklahoma, Illinois, et cetera, et cetera. There's that Nebraska-litis that we talked about earlier on in the season. There is something diseased that happens to you in your football program after beating Nebraska. That said, I just think Wisconsin's going to run wild. Did you see the Jim Leonard story about recruiting his own players every day because people are trying to pluck?
I saw, yeah.
Like, I think there was a rumor, an unfounded rumor, an unconfirmed rumor that Michigan was going after players or Braylon Allen or something like that. Again, this is all just message board hearsay that I'm, passing along irresponsibly. But Jim Leonard did come out and say that he is having to fend off in-season suitors for his roster. Amazing. Which, guess what? He is everybody. Everybody is doing that every day, all season long. And it's a weird reality, and I do not envy that position if you're a head coach having to do that, which every one of them is. What else did you mention from the early slate? You mentioned Florida Vandy?
Yeah, Florida Vandy. The Gators have kind of been an afterthought for the last month or so after they lost to LSU.
Yeah.
And it is worth mentioning that Florida hasn't lost to any bad teams. Their worst loss was back in week 2 to Kentucky, and that was the week after the Utah thriller. Otherwise, they've been pretty good. They're not losing to bad teams. They're not consistent enough. They clearly have things to fix, but to date, they've got the number one strength of schedule in college football. They've played really, really strong teams. I think I like Florida here by like 17 points.
Yeah, I like Florida here as well.
I like Florida pretty big. The Duke game is interesting to me because if you want to speak to the TCUs of the world or to anyone playing Nebraska's of the world and their relationship with Vegas, Vegas has really whiffed on Pitt this year. Really whiffed on Pitt.
Yeah.
Panthers are 40% against the spread. A lot of that has to do with the turnover thing and a really inefficient passing game. I don't know if you saw the thing that Keaton Slovis is not sure what he's doing next year.
I saw that.
You got to come back and play somewhere.
Yeah.
You're not going to go pro at this point. Anyway, the only pop on offense for the Panthers is Izzy Abanikanda.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I don't really know what you're hanging your hat on. So for me, looking at this one and knowing full well the momentum that Duke has had lately, getting 7.5 points, I'm on the Blue Devils.
I think I'm on Duke as well. Their schedule is essentially aged really well. Even though they lost to Georgia Tech in the way that they did, I think it was a 23-20 game. Georgia Tech has progressed over the course of the season since firing Jeff Collins. I don't think Jeff Sims is with the program anymore. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
So losing to Georgia Tech, while embarrassing, is not the ultimate capital S shame that it was a year ago, let's say. I think I like Duke here. I really do think Duke is the team. Pitt, to me, they're too inconsistent even when they win. And look, win your clunkers, as we always like to say. The way that they beat, I believe it was, who did they beat 19-9? Was it Louisville?
Oh, right.
They beat somebody in like one of the low-key uglier games of this season.
Right.
And obviously handed Virginia its ass
Syracuse.
last week. It was Syracuse. Excuse me. I misspoke. I think I like Duke here. I think, look, losing to Kansas, less embarrassing. Beating Miami, good. It's a good thing. I think, was that the 8 turnover game?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Not replicable, but I'm in on Duke here. The game is in where?
The game is on the road. Yeah, the game.
It's on the road for Duke. Okay.
Yeah.
Even still, I still like Duke here. I think they're quality. I think they do enough well. They stop big plays, I believe, well enough.
Yeah.
Especially, how are they against the run? They stop big runs, right?
Yeah.
They fill their gaps and they tackle. That's good enough for me to beat Pitt right now.
Let's go to the afternoon slate, Dan.
Please.
Let's talk about Georgia, Kentucky. 3:30 CBS, Georgia favored by 22.5 points. Do you think there is any chance that Kentucky snaps out of it?
No. I mean, against Georgia?
Well, just in general, Kentucky's been kind of in a tailspin here over the last few weeks, especially at the quarterback position. Will Levis, and I make the joke every time about he's a first-round player, which I've never believed and still don't. But he's been really bad. Like, he's lucky if he gets drafted the way he's been playing.
The line has been bad, which is uncharacteristic.
The line has been bad, right? I mean, the running game has gotten better since Christopher Rodriguez came back, but that is still not fully up to par. They've had trouble finding their weapons out wide. It's not been a good season for Kentucky football. There are definitely going to be frustrating elements when we look back at this thing 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. So when I say snap out of it, I'm not necessarily referring to them challenging Georgia. Georgia's a tough team to snap out of it against. I'm just more referring to Kentucky looking more competitive, Kentucky looking more organized, Kentucky not feeling on a Sunday morning like, what the hell happened yesterday?
Don't think that emotion will come through against Georgia. I just don't. This is an Underthink Express moment that Will Levis and his struggles in the offense and protecting Will Levis and receivers and consistently getting open and making plays. I don't know. It's not a look-ahead spot for Georgia. Yeah, I mean, Georgia finishes with that Georgia Tech squad. I'm
Here's
just
what
not
happens
there.
in this game. This is a crock-potting. This is a crock-potting. What happens in this game is Kentucky's defense wears down, and then you've got that pinata moment that I like to refer to. The Kentucky defense wears down against Georgia and then pop. And this is what I've been saying about the Georgia offense. This is how they kill you. The MO is long, sustained drives where you just can't get them off the field. They're not great, not the best at generating monster plays that kill you like TCU. They're really good at staying on the field, wearing you down, tearing you limb from limb. That is Georgia football. Kentucky's defense, for what it's worth, plays an average of 60 plays per game. Georgia averages 71. The Dogs are going to wear them down. They're going to take their soul. I think it's something like 45-17. Georgia.
Yeah,
rolls.
I think Lad McConkey runs wild in this one. I think they continue to use him in creative ways and, has 143 yards receiving or something.
Also in this afternoon block, Iowa, Minnesota.
Ooh, and this was an interesting line to me.
3 points in favor of Minnesota.
In Minneapolis.
This game does not seem on the surface like it'll be a fun experience to watch.
Iowa games are always kind of weird. I don't know.
I'm not too thrilled about watching this one.
Okay.
You've got two teams that want to run it. Only one that actually can. I think this is slow. I think this is low scoring. I think this is a really bad watch. Now, that being said, Dan, I am also curious about this point spread. The 3-point line kind of caught me a little bit. I kind of didn't know who was going to be favored here. So I think the way I am approaching this is just through the lens of what does it mean for the Big Ten West? I don't care so much about who wins. I do care about the Big Ten West because the Big Ten West is awesome. Right now, it is a Big Ten hot mess. Play the death metal music, because here's what we got. Only Northwestern and Nebraska have been eliminated. Everybody else still has a shot. Per ESPN, Iowa's got a 26.7% chance of winning the division. Minnesota, 10.4%. The novelty, as Reballer Eric pointed out before, Week 11, is that nobody controls their own destiny. So, with that being said, Dan, who wins this game?
Iowa.
Iowa.
I think Minnesota's a little bit too one note, and that is what plays into Iowa's hand. Now, Minnesota's defense has been pretty good this year, but I think Iowa should get loose. Here is the wild card, Ty. Here is the anomalous conversation or weird conversation part of this. Because I think Minnesota runs the ball and then they struggle to do that much outside of that on offense, or they'll try to run the ball. And too many mistakes on both sides of the ball at opportune moments. What is the higher number? The losing points in this game, the team that loses, their score total, or the temperature at kickoff?
Oh.
Expected to be 15 degrees in Minneapolis for this one.
I think I go lower.
You think the losing team scores fewer than 15 points?
I do, yeah.
So do I.
I jotted down 19-13.
Yeah, I have 17-13, 17-10 in there, and I have Iowa winning this game. It's going to be a cold one. I don't know what wind chill is going to be, but this probably, other than Brawl of the Wild, which is I think where game day is this week, right?
Yeah.
Montana State. This is going to be, I assume, the coldest Power 5 matchup of the season.
Yeah, I got Minnesota 19-13.
I'm going to watch this game both for the football and for the crowd shots. I always enjoy that because there's going to be some crazy gopher without a shirt on.
3:30, NC State at Louisville. Louisville favored by 4 points. I haven't seen an update on Malik Cunningham. I don't know if you have. He hurt his shoulder.
No, I haven't seen an update.
If he's able to go, Louisville is still interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think last week would have been a much different story if he had stayed healthy in that game against Clemson. But,
Doman was good, though. He made plays.
He's not Malik, though. He's not Malik McHale. He's just not. So my pick is somewhat dependent on what his status is. If he's hurt, I think you got to take NC State plus the points. But if he is healthy, I go Louisville.
Where's this game?
Game's in Louisville.
Game's in Louisville. I think I'm taking Louisville as well. I'm not in on NC State at the moment. Too inconsistent on offense, and I hate that the defense is on the field sometimes as long as they are. So, because of the offense. So, I like MJ Morris. I like his ceiling. Obviously, you do because you're delirious for Notre Dame.
Three-time Heisman winner coming at you, MJ Morris.
The ultimate tamperer, Ty Hildenbrandt, audibly tampering with other people's quarterbacks mid-season.
That's what I do. All right.
Yeah, I like Louisville here.
3:30, a couple other games here kind of in this afternoon block, Dan. I'll rattle through them. You tell me which ones are of note. Miami at Clemson. Clemson favored by 19 points. Your Kansas State Wildcats favored by 7.5 on the road at West Virginia.
Ooh.
We've got the battle of 6 and 4 between Texas and Kansas. Texas favored by 9 on the road. Penn State at 8 and 2 moved up to 11th, by the way, in the latest round of college football playoff rankings. They are favored by 19 on the road at 4 and 6. Rutgers. We've also got Ohio State minus 28 points at Maryland. Some other ones here, real quick. North Carolina playing host to Georgia Tech. They're a big favorite. Wazoo only a 4-point road favorite at Arizona. Oregon State favored by 8 on the road at Arizona State. Notre Dame favored by 21 at home against Boston College. Take Boston College.
Wow.
We've got Cincinnati minus 17 on the road at Temple. Stanford on the road at Cal. That rivalry game.
Oh, big game.
Cal is favored by 5. And in case you didn't see the news, the Coastal Carolina-Virginia game is off officially.
Saw that.
I figured that
Which
they
makes
would.
Sense. Yeah.
Obviously, they needed to, given the tragic circumstances at UVA. But that game between Coastal and Virginia will not be played.
Yes, correct. All of those games are happening, and that news story is accurate. Of those, I think Ohio State probably covers that line. That's a big Clemson-Miami line. If you're a believer in Ja'Carri Brown, I suppose for Miami, I'm not there yet as a freshman.
I wouldn't touch that game. I don't trust either team to cover 19 points.
The only reason to take Miami there is because Clemson is clinched and maybe, second half is club level reps against Miami. Something like that, Ty. But beyond that, no. I like Kansas covering against Texas at home.
What do we think of Texas at this point? Because Texas has been a couple weeks running now, a pretty healthy favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was only 2 on the road when they played against Kansas State. But last week they were favored by 7 at home against TCU. This week by 9 on the road at Kansas. Kansas won this game 57-56 last year in a crazy shootout. I think I like Texas here, but I am spooked by the fact that Vegas likes Texas way more than seemingly the rest of us. And so, again, this is another one where I think I like Texas to win and cover. Would never bet it. I just don't trust them.
No. I'm out on Texas when I think Kansas should be able to move the ball some. And we saw the Texas defense step up last week, but I think it's a letdown spot. They're going on the road. No, I like Kansas to cover this. Maybe Texas to barely win, but no, I like Rock Chalk here.
Rock Chalk. All right. And like I said, go Boston College plus the 21.
Why is that? You're just an Emmett Morehead guy and think Notre Dame is looking ahead to USC and just survive in advance against BC?
Yes. Frankly, yes, I do. Notre Dame is always, for whatever reason, it feels like in a dogfight with Boston College. Boston College gets up for that game. There's history in that game. It seems like Boston College has found a quarterback who can move the football. We know Notre Dame does not have that, and I still feel like Notre Dame is pretty one-note. They played a great game against Clemson. They might play a great game next week against USC. They could win that game next week against USC, but I think there's a fair amount of look ahead in this team. I think there's a fair amount of fight in Boston College. So getting 21 points, I go BC.
All right, I think I agree with you. I think there's a good amount of fight to BC. I don't trust them, and if Notre Dame's able to run the ball, they will beat them by many, many points. But no, I
couldn't run the ball against Navy.
Couldn't run it against Navy. Oh man, yeah. I think I'll
can
take
you
BC
trust
in
me
the
and
points.
just go Boston College?
Yeah, but you pick against Notre Dame every week.
This is a real pick. Trust me and go Boston College.
All right.
Thank you. Give me the benefit of the doubt, just one time. One time.
You're Benny's.
Boston College plus 21. Okay. Late cap, late games, nightcap, what have you. 7:30 ABC is the Bedlam game. We throw out the records. Get them out of here. It is Oklahoma State at 7-3. It is Oklahoma at 5-5, and they are favored by 7.5. The Sooners at home, 5-5, favored by 7.5.
Yeah.
To quote the wise prophet Ashanti, it's about trust, babe.
Yeah.
It's about trust, babe.
That doesn't mean anything in this game, though.
It's about trust. Do you trust Oklahoma to cover 7.5?
I don't trust a single thing beyond Pistol Pete's masculine strength in this game. Ty, why would you trust Oklahoma State? I saw Spencer Sanders is going to will himself to the starting line in this one, right? Spencer Sanders is going to start for the Pokes.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you are to believe that he can regain the form that he showed in relief last week, yeah, Oklahoma State stands a really good chance of winning this game. I don't trust Oklahoma. I don't trust anything in this game. I'm going to go the ability for Oklahoma State to contribute to Oklahoma not making a bowl game is probably too tantalizing.
Yeah.
Even on the road, even with the implications of this game last year. It wasn't the reason Lincoln Riley left Norman, but it happened in the shadow of.
No.
I'm going Oklahoma State here. I really think there is something to betting against Oklahoma this year that is not going to get fixed this week.
I just don't know how you trust Oklahoma to cover a point spread against a team with a decent enough offense and a similar enough defense.
Yeah.
I don't. I know you don't. I don't get where they come down making this point spread. I was fully prepared, and I sent this to you on Slack before we did this show. I was fully prepared to come into this preview talking about how this is going to be Spencer Sanders' last chance to upend Oklahoma. And what will he do with it? Not only will he get out there and play and be a warrior and fight through whatever injury he has, but there's meaning to this one for Spencer Sanders to go out on a high note. Spencer Sanders can play again next year.
That's correct.
He has another year of eligibility if he wants it.
Yeah.
He can come back in 2023. I don't think he's going pro, not in football. So,
wow.
He's not going pro.
Way
Who's
harsh,
drafting Spencer
Ty.
Sanders?
I don't know. The best of Spencer Sanders is very good. Have you seen what quarterbacks look like right now?
That's a separate topic, but yes.
I mean, I'm even talking NFL starting quarterbacks.
I know, I'm
Who
aware.
is starting NFL games?
I'm aware.
Yeah.
But man, I just can't believe he's got another year. Anyway, look,
Yeah.
I think this will be a pretty entertaining game. I don't know who wins. Bedlam's always fun. Oklahoma State has the better defense, but they give up a ton of big plays, which
Not
is
by
definitely
much,
which is definitely something Oklahoma can take advantage of. I don't know if they will. And then Oklahoma doesn't play any defense. And obviously that's going to be useful for the Pokes. So I think they cancel each other out. What was the score that we threw out as the most entertaining score? 38-35?
To me, something in there, yeah.
Let's say 38-35. Somebody wins and I'm taking the points.
Okay. That means Dylan Gabriel has a really good game. That means Eric Gray has really strong moments in this game against an Oklahoma State rush defense. That's not embarrassing. That's fine. Yeah, I see back and forth fun in this one. It's always Bedlam. So, yeah, I'm going Oklahoma State here to cover. And, betting with the Pokes and against Oklahoma has been a profitable enterprise this year.
There you go. 8 p.m. Eastern, the battle for Southern California.
Victory bell.
Yeah, it is USC, 9-1, favored by 2.5, on the road at UCLA. To help us break down this game, I've got a special guest. You know him well. He is our resident Southern California expert, one Dan Rubenstein, sir.
Yeah.
Break this down from a California man's perspective. Where are you at here?
Well, the real California thinker is talking Azusa Pacific football. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Talking Chapman. I don't know. I'm just naming us every small school I can think of. Pierce College. This is fascinating. So UCLA has been without its defensive coordinator, who's been sort of home with an unspecified illness, Bill McGovern, for the past few weeks. So they're shorthanded on defense. Hope he's all right and healing. But UCLA, it seems like they have the strongest advantage in their ability to run the ball against USC's rush defense. Like, I think USC is liable to get stopped more often when they have the ball against UCLA's defense, which is totally okay. Not great, but totally okay in spurts. Whereas USC's defense, not okay. Hasn't been okay all season long. So UCLA's ability to control the game on the ground on offense, which honestly we could have said last week against Arizona and they lost that game. So it doesn't mean they're winning this game. But as I look at it, I see that as the biggest advantage, the biggest mismatch in this game. So I'm going with UCLA here. I'm going with UCLA because of the Charbonnet and Keegan Jones, Kaz Allen. I think the speed on offense. I think Jake Bobo will get loose often enough against this USC secondary, which is actually decent and has obviously turned teams over a ton. I think that's the mismatch. So in this battle, in this sure to be a shootout, in this 48-45 somebody type game, I think I'm going with Chip Kelly and the Bruins here.
Really?
I am. I think last week was, in terms of what a team should not hope for, but when a loss happens timing-wise, for UCLA to have that bad taste in their mouth after the Arizona loss, and USC as beat up as they are on defense and now on offense without Travis Dye, still with, even if Mario Williams and Jordan Addison play, these guys are coming back from injury. And that's their biggest weapon, still beat up. And maybe it was precautionary these last couple weeks. I don't know. I'm going with UCLA here. When you can run the ball unrelentingly, if that's a word, that to me is the advantage.
Interesting.
Now, it's the same thing, though. It's the same way I approached Oregon-Washington last week, that I figured Oregon would control the ball on the ground, which they did, and still lost because they couldn't get a stop. That could be an issue for UCLA. That very well may be the issue in this game. But I'm going with what I see as UCLA with the ball, controlling things on the ground, more than I believe in USC controlling things through the air. So
that's interesting. That's an interesting take. I mean, it needs to be mentioned that the Trojans are the Pac-12's last great hope to try and sneak into the playoff.
Sure.
And again, it's not likely they would need help, but they clearly have a lot to play for here. So does UCLA. So does Oregon, frankly. I mean,
sure.
USC has a 27% chance to win the Pac-12. If that happened, they would need what? LSU to lose to Georgia, which seems likely. They would need TCU probably to lose twice, maybe to lose once. I don't know. But on December 3rd, And we mentioned this a few shows ago. USC could be in a position where they're 12-1, and their only loss is a 1-point loss on the road to top 10 Utah, which is a pretty good place to be.
Definitely.
I'm curious to see if the Travis Dye injury affects USC's offense, because next to Caleb Williams, I think you could argue that he's been the second most important player on the Trojan offense. He was having a great season. 6 yards a carry. He had 9 touchdowns. That workload now shifts to some other guys who I think are capable, but they're not Travis Dye.
I think he was more dependably good than dependably excellent.
Yeah.
And I don't think replacement level is going to be a huge issue for this USC offense, because I think they're going to still score points with or without him. They have started slow at times this year. We even saw a slow start against Colorado. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not the Southern California expert as much as I am promising good team fan with a completely lackluster defense expert. In the wake of the way I watched Oregon lose to Washington, a team with, I think Oregon is still the number 1 most efficient scoring offense in America, like right around 4 points a drive. When you can't get off the field, when you can get pushed around, in Oregon's case, it was through the air. In USC's case, it's on the ground. I'd still rather be pushed around through the air and be leaky through the air than unable to fill a gap and tackle anybody up front. That's my personal expertise.
Well, so, you can run against UCLA as well. It's not like UCLA plays defense.
I know, totally. I think they're merely disappointing on defense, whereas I think USC, if they're not generating those turnovers, they're pretty disastrously bad.
I don't know. I'm just curious to see if that factors in at all. I tend to agree with you, but on paper, to me, these teams are dead even. This is an even matchup with subtle differences. I think this is a pick you make from the gut, based on who you think is better, based on who you hope might have the ball last. I think it's close. Truly, I think this is close. And I think USC is the better team. Just in general. I think USC is the better team. I trust, if this is, to quote the wise prophet Ashanti, all about trust, babe. I trust Caleb Williams implicitly.
By the way, something you don't hear a lot of. Sold out at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Sold out. Yeah. You know how hard that? It's USC. They're playing in the same general metro area. So it will be a raucous atmosphere. And by the way, Ty, we haven't mentioned this yet. The best uniform matchup, because they both wear the homes, much in the way that Oregon and Washington did last week. So USC will be in its cardinal and gold, and UCLA in its blue and gold. It's great.
Love it. 38-35 again. Let's go USC.
Let's go UCLA.
Finally, 10:30 ESPN, Utah.
Do you have a lock this week, by the way?
I'm getting there.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Utah 8-2, Oregon 8-2. Oregon favored by a 3-point stand. We did mention USC's odds of winning the conference. Utah is at 36%. Oregon is at 29% to win the Pac-12. Bill Connolly says that Utah's got the inside track. I don't fully understand why, but it's not really the point. The point here is that there are a bunch of teams with one loss in conference play, and they're competing for 2 spots. In that title game, we've got 2 of them here. We should have more clarity by December, as we like to say on the show.
Still an all-time moment for the show.
All-time moment. I forgot the 11th month of the year, the month of my birth. Anyway, I don't know what your process is when you're going through games, but I will typically look at the matchup and I'll jot down some thoughts. Then I'm going to go look at the point spread. Then I'm going to look at the stats. I'm going to try and layer it on, little by little, and try and build my case like a Matlock or something. Mm-hmm. My gut is that Oregon's better than Utah. That is my gut. That's the deep gunneral, whatever, tells me that Oregon's better than Utah. And the point spread reflects that. Oregon is -3. The stats, though, are downright fascinating. Stats are fascinating because both defenses are terrible at stopping whatever the opponent does well. Utah can't stop the run. Oregon's really bad against the pass. I think I favor Oregon's options on the ground more than Utah's game through the air. But this is another close one in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is so interesting down the stretch because of this seeming logjam we've got at the very top. I go Oregon here. I go Oregon. I don't think losses
because of the rushing attack.
Yeah, I don't
Because of
think
Bucky
I don't
Irving.
think back-to-back losses is going to be a thing. I think they'll be ready. They'll be amped. They'll be psyched for this Utah game. So I have it 35-31. If we get a 35-31 Oregon game against Utah and a 38-35 USC UCLA game, that's a hell of a weekend in Pac-12 football.
I mean, this was supposed to be the headline weekend.
Yeah.
If Oregon were to beat Washington and if UCLA were to beat Arizona. Obviously, it is not to be. And this game, what time is this game? It's at 10:30 p.m. Eastern?
10:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Great job. You got to get that TV money. You got to have that unique window so that nobody watches the highest rated team in the conference. Great. Good job, everybody. Yeah, really wish this were a 3:30 kickoff. That would have been nice, but alas. I'm sure there's some sort of rule that everybody has to play late or something. I am on Utah.
Why?
I'm not confident. I hate rooting for a team or picking a team that does the best and worst thing in a game. I hate that kind of swing. And so here's what we now have from the best thing in the game, the Oregon offense. We have Bo Nix's ankle. What's the status? I don't know. Dan Lanning in his press conference said he was encouraged by some of the news he's gotten about the health of his team. Whatever that means.
Great. That's terrific.
So I assume Bo Nix is going to find a way onto the field. What does that mean for his ability to run the ball or scramble and buy time? Probably he's going to be around 57.5%, if I had to guess. The other thing is your confidence in the run game also assumes, which is not unfair to assume, that Oregon's offensive line doesn't miss a beat with an injured, even if he's playing, even if he's not playing, Alex Forsyth, arguably their best offensive lineman, their center. You saw that late in the game. He was grabbing sort of his pec or shoulder or something like that.
Yeah.
And the backup center, the swing lineman, had to come in and play center. And he's a major, major part of this offense. And so there is something about Utah, and maybe this is just, recent memory, my short-term memory of watching Utah absolutely stomp Oregon, Mario Cristobal Oregon, twice at the end of last season. I got a stomping rerun. I'm going Utah because Cam Rising is such a playmaker at quarterback, and Oregon is so easy to fool and pick apart in the passing game, even though Utah does not have a game-changing receiver in the way that Washington has quality at receiver, for sure. And Adunze and Jalen McMillan, guys like that. The reason to pick Oregon is it's a smelling salt game for the Ducks, that they woke them up, that they're playing angry, that they're bouncing back.
They're staying awake.
They're staying awake. They're absolutely staying awake. That's the reason to pick them. That it's a revenge spot from last year, and Bo Nix is not Anthony Brown. I mean, by the way, Bo Nix threw for like 330 and ran for a ton, no picks against Washington. He was really, really good. But he's beat up.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, what you said the spread's about 3 points?
3 points in favor of the Ducks, yeah.
So they're looking at it as even. Autzen is an absolute terror dome in big games. And so they're not going to make the same little mistakes over the course of the game, it seems, that they did last week. They will correct certain things. It's hard to fix the linebacking core in a secondary in 6 days. It really, from what I can gather, it's tough to do. So
there's a
I'm
little bit of
going Utah
recency
here.
bias here for you.
No, it has been an issue all season long. They've just played Colorado and Wazoo and Arizona and a good UCLA team who they survived with an onside kick. I think Utah is just... I don't think the Utah defense is where it's been these last few years. So I think Oregon will score. I really do. But if it's close, I don't know. I trust Cam Rising a little bit more against this defense than Bo Nix against Utah. So I'm going Utes here once again. And we'll be rooting like hell Sunday morning when I watch this game from my YouTube TV library at 5 a.m. Central. But no, it hurts to say because the best of Oregon will absolutely win this game. But if you can't rush the passer, you can't do much on defense, and Oregon just can't get after it. So
35-31 Ducks for me.
Okay.
I'm going Ducks, but this
Good luck.
should be a fascinating game.
Yeah.
All right. Other action here in the nightcap. My lock
Lock of the week.
My lock is Tennessee minus 21.5 against South Carolina.
This is the Alshon Jeffrey pumping gas game. If you remember Lane Kiffin recruiting against South Carolina.
Yep.
I think Tennessee wins really, really big.
Yeah.
I think they win this game by 35.
My lock is Tennessee here. If there was going to be any kind of letdown, if there was going to be any kind of let up in Tennessee, what happened last week? Didn't happen. Didn't happen at all. Or for that matter, it would have happened to some degree after the big Alabama win. Didn't happen there either. It's certainly not going to happen now on the road at South Carolina. I think they're going to drill South Carolina. So Tennessee's my lock. Other games in that night window. We've got Ole Miss -2.5 on the road at Arkansas. We've got Syracuse at Wake Forest. Wake favored by 10. Texas Tech on the road at Iowa State. The Clones favored by 3.5. New Mexico State on the road at Mizzou. Mizzou favored by 28 points. UAB on the road at LSU. The battle of the acronyms. LSU favored by 14.5 points. And to close things out, Colorado on the road. A 31-point dog against the Washington Huskies, Dan. Any thoughts on those games? Any thoughts?
Not really. I mean, it's the old SoCon Saturday, although now the teams are spread out in all sorts of different conferences for the SEC. Wake Syracuse might be fun.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Wake Syracuse might be fun in the way that Syracuse doesn't stop anybody on the ground. It's a weird matchup of strengths and weaknesses, whereas Wake throws the ball and Syracuse is pretty good against the pass. That to me is an interesting game to monitor on the ACC network. What is that, 8 p.m. Eastern? No, of the late action, there's not much. It's a fascinating day a little bit in the Mountain West because I think Fresno and Boise can both clinch spots in the championship game, and Boise plays a super early game, I want to say. What time does Boise play? I think I saw somebody say that in the comments. No, they don't. Against Wyoming, Boise, it's a 6 p.m. game, 6 p.m. Central. That's a decent game. Ole Miss, Arkansas is kind of fascinating to me. Just because these are, let's see, you have Ole Miss coming off of a letdown Saturday at home against Alabama and Arkansas, and I saw KJ Jefferson's health is trending in the right direction. Hopefully that's meaningful because we like to watch him play. So they can play spoiler for what had looked like another charmed Ole Miss season. So I'm going to watch that game. But I expect Ole Miss to win that just because they should have used Arkansas on the ground. But I guess we thought that about LSU, but that's a letdown spot for Arkansas as well. So I'm going with Ole Miss because the Rebels running the ball is the strongest thing to me in this game. Otherwise, no. I think there's a bunch of just like, oh, this game is getting weird and there's 3.5 minutes left in Texas Tech, Iowa State. Like, I think there are enough like evenly matched games without huge stakes beyond bowl eligibility kind of stuff. No, as I scroll through here, no, I think that's
right.
About it, Ty. I don't know if you have anything else of note.
No, I mean, I think there are a couple other games that we should get to. There is a Thursday game between SMU and Tulane, which is of interest.
That'll be great.
Yeah, Tulane favored by 3 at home. Don't necessarily have a lean in that one, but both teams have been interesting stories throughout the course of the year. At this point, I'm just going to ask myself to drop the big stanky drum. Why don't I just ask myself? Why not?
I would like you to.
12:30, Lehigh Lafayette.
Oh,
Boom.
baby.
Boom.
Headliner.
Boom. Lehigh Lafayette. Lehigh 8-2. No, 2-8. Excuse me. Won last week.
Yeah.
Lafayette 3-7. Who you got?
Where are they playing this one?
They're playing this one in Easton at Lafayette.
That's when you were supposed to say Azteca.
Azteca? Yeah, they're playing as the Tokyo Dome this year.
Yeah, you don't bet against the Yetis at home. Give me Lafayette by 7 to 9 touchdowns.
Holy Cross 10-0 on the road at Multi-Sport Field. Wow. Isn't this a tasty little matchup against Georgetown? Georgetown 2-8. Who you got?
Crusaders enormous.
I'm going to go Georgetown here to pull the upset.
Oh, you dummy.
Marist, 4-6 Marist, on the road at Bucknell. Bucknell 2-8, but favored by 48 in this game, Dan.
Give me the Nellies. Why not?
I'm going to go Marist. Closing it out, we got Colgate 3-7 at Fordham. Fordham 8-2, Dan.
Yeah, Rams huge.
Going Fordham Rams as well.
Not a question.
That does it. Anything else on your mind, man? What else do we got here? Anything? Anything. What's going on in the world?
I do have something. Did you watch any of Maction last night as we record this on Wednesday? Did you watch any of Bowling Green Toledo?
I've seen some highlights.
It was bonkers. It was wet. People were sliding around. The Falcons got bowl eligible on the road against the Rockets. That was really fun. And Ohio against Ball State has won its 8th game, if I'm reading this correctly. The MAC is all over the place. I can't wait for the MAC championship game. 32-18, Ohio takes down Ball State. Dave Letterman's Ball State.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, that does it for week 12, boys and girls. It is a stay awake Saturday. It is a 6-4 Saturday.
Oh.
It is a, what was your suggestion?
Should have been.
Should have been you, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. Mm-mm.
Should have been Saturday. Whatever it is for you this Saturday, hope it treats you well. Don't forget, Dan and I do a live show on Spotify every Thursday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West. It's called College Football Thursdays, quite literally named here as we talk about college football on a Thursday night. We play games. We get you ready for the week ahead. You can go to solidverbal.com/Spotify to find that link that'll kick you over, or you can sign up for our newsletter, which you can get at newsletter.solidverbal.com, or just go to the website, solidverbal.com. Scroll down to the bottom. You'll see a little form. Just give us your email. We'll send you something every Thursday. And in that, you will see a link to get on over to the Spotify page. Hope you will join us. It's a lot of fun. You get people in the chat. We invite folks up on stage, give their picks. It's a lot of fun.
It's the best.
If you're going to be out and about, if you're taking advantage of your window of opportunity, listen to the College Football Blitz, Dan.
I agree. I mean, look, it's Stevie Speedrun. It's not much more needs to be said, but gets you through everything audio, on the road, local audio, I should say. Varsity app? Is that the move?
Yeah, you can listen for free on the Varsity Network app on ESPNU Radio Channel 84 and Sirius XM. As you said, hosted by Stevie Speedrun, Stephen Hartzell. 12 hours of coverage every Saturday, starting at high noon, runs all the way through midnight. You get 56 minutes of hometown play-by-play coverage per hour, just 3 minutes. I'm counting out in the video. 1, 2, 3. 3 minutes of commercials per hour. The rest is right from the taproot of college football.
Oh, good use of that.
You get the hometown flair as the plays happen, as the big moments happen. College Football Blitz. It's the NFL Red Zone again for college football. Give our friends a listen. All right. That does it. We've got one more regular season picks podcast to do next week. We've obviously got a live show coming up in Atlanta pretty soon. Go to Solid Verbal Live or smelltieshair.com, whatever you're into if you're interested in coming to see us live. If you've got anything else that you'd like to get off your chest, give us a holler at solidverbal@gmail.com. In the meantime, for that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrandt, thanks again for downloading, listening, supporting the show. We will talk to you all on the weekend. Stay solid.
Peace.